injury?
My name is James Edmondson.
Sir, if you move the microphone just a little bit.
My name is James Edmondson.
Mr. Edmondson, where do you live?
I live in Smyrna, Tennessee.
And what do you do for a living, in a nutshell?
I am a quality engineer for Aludyne. We produce the front end knuckles for the Maxima, the Ultima, the Rogue, and the Murano
Okay,
for Nissan.
all right. And do you have any children?
Yes, I have a total of 4 children, 2 from a previous marriage and 2 currently from my current wife, Francine,
Okay.
Jayla Janae.
All right. And who lives with you in your house currently?
Right now it's my wife, Francine, Jayla, and Janae, and Neo, our dog.
Neil?
Neo, our dog. Neo.
Okay.
Yes.
Where does Janae fall in the lineup as far as youngest to oldest of your children?
She is the youngest.
The baby?
Yeah, she's the baby.
I want to direct your attention back to February 18th of last year, 2023. Did you have a reason to be in St. Louis?
Yes, we was here for a volleyball tournament, the presidential tournament at the Dome.
Okay. And was Janae playing in that volleyball tournament?
Yeah, she was. She's a setter for mid-10 volleyball out of Smyrna, Tennessee.
Okay. And did she have many traveling games?
Yeah, she was for his tournaments.
Yes.
Yeah, she had several tournaments during that year.
All right.
And this was the 3rd tournament, I believe.
Okay. And when she had a tournament, did you and your wife make every effort to attend her games?
Yes, unless my other daughter, Jayla, she's the oldest. She was softball scholarship from Rebecca Nazarene University in Nashville. So if Jayla has a tournament and Janae has a tournament like that weekend, we would do split duty. I'd go with Jayla and Francine would come with Janae.
Okay. Can you just bump that mic backwards a little bit? There we go. Okay. And you can sit back. It'll pick your voice up.
Okay.
All right. Thank you. All right. So when did you arrive in St. Louis for that tournament?
We left Smyrna. They had that basketball game that night. We left around 10:30 or so. We got here around 3 o'clock or so that morning here in St. Louis.
Okay. And did you stay in a hotel?
Yes, we stayed in the courtyard, I believe, downtown St. Louis. The courtyard.
The courtyard?
Yeah, in St. Louis.
All right. And what time did the tournament start?
Well, the tournament started that morning around 7 o'clock, first games, but our match did not start until I think it was around 2 o'clock or 3 that afternoon.
Okay. And you arrived at 3, so I'm presuming you had kind of a late start that following morning?
Yes, that was one of the factors there. That night, that Friday, I was talking to Janae about playing in that basketball game, and I told her, I said, we got a 5-hour drive to St. Louis, and do you really want to play this game? And she said, this is my last year, Dad, and yes, this is my team. If I don't play, I feel like I will let them down. And they just had to make district play out that night. So yeah, we got here to St. Louis around 3 o'clock.
Okay, and you mentioned a basketball game. What did a basketball game have to do with the volleyball tournament?
Well, the basketball game is that she felt like she had to play, and that they had made district the first time. And she's the starting shooting guard for the team, and that was the reason why she was insisting on playing. And then we looked at it, and we'll be getting here around 3. Her first tournament's not going to be around 3, so she'll have plenty of time to get sleep. And that's kind of like how the basketball game became a factor, because she wanted to play, and she felt she was going to let her team down if she didn't be the starter.
Okay. What other sports did she play?
She played softball in her early years, around 8 or 9. She played in the orchestra.
And how old was Janae back in February of last year?
17.
Was that her final year of high school?
Yes, it was.
Okay. All right. So you attend the game, and what happens at the end of the last game of the tournament? What do you do?
Well, the game was over with, team meeting. They were sent out the schedule for the next day. And at that time, they got all their stuff, put in their bag. And we left, heading home. We was heading toward 11th Street there. And we were walking down 11th Street, and then Janae and I wanted Kane's fingers, but we wanted one in St. Nashville. We got here, and Francine, I believe, wanted pizza or something. So we were going back and forth about a few constantly were walking down 11th Street.
So two of you wanted canes,
Yes,
and your wife wanted pizza.
correct.
And so you're just kind of having this kind of fun banter back and forth, arguing about who's going to get who's
Exactly.
going to win that battle, right?
Yeah, Cavalier was just going back and forth, and we felt Janae and I had outnumbered her, and we were going to get Kane because we just don't. We was here last year for the same tournament, and the year before for the same tournament, and that's our first exposure to Kane's fingers. We were really good. Now we have one in Smyrna.
Okay, that's a nice endorsement. Okay, and were you were walking on foot? Is that right?
Yeah, we were walking on foot, and
Well, let me follow up with this. So, how were you going to get to the restaurant, whichever one you chose?
I was going to drive our car,
Okay.
the Silver Road that was there parked on St. Charles.
And about how close was your car to the dome where the tournament was held?
Wow, I would say fourth of a mile or so. I'm not sure, but it wasn't far.
Okay, short enough for a comfortable walk from the car?
Exactly.
All right.
And typically we will park in the parking decks. All the previous time we came here, we parked in the parking deck. But that particular weekend, there was so much stuff going on. You had the St. Louis Blues were playing. You had Mardi Gras going on. You had our tournament going on. And it was just completely packed. So we had to end up parking on St. Charles.
So the parking lots were packed. How about the streets?
Yes, we was lucky to get a spot, to be honest with you, because every street was completely packed, parked with cars. So we was lucky to get that particular spot.
How about pedestrians, people walking around downtown?
There was a lot of people. You had people wearing the St. Louis Blues jerseys, and then it was all of the volleyball moms and dads and kids that was playing that week. So it was really busy.
Okay. Now, as you get to is there a street that you have to cross in order to get to your parked vehicle?
It was just St. Charles. That was the only one that I know, because once we got to that corner, it was just feet away from where we was at.
Just your car was literally a
Yep.
few feet away from where you were standing?
Yep, on that corner.
Could you see your car from
yes.
that corner?
Yes, I saw it.
Okay.
Yeah, we were parked right there on the corner, and I think you guys probably showed some pictures. The picture showed earlier, you saw his car upside down, and directly across from there was our car. It was a Silver Road, in the picture that was shown earlier.
Okay, and we'll show you that again so you can point that out. All right. So when you're standing at the curb, okay, was that at 11th and St. Charles?
Yes, it was.
Okay. Did anything draw your attention?
Well, as we were still debating about food, Janae was on my right side, and Francine was on my left side. And then as we were entering the intersection across, all of a sudden we just heard this loud roaring of an engine. I mean, it was really, really loud. It was getting louder and louder. Janae was about a step and a half probably in front of me on my right side. And I think Janae saw the car first. And as the engine was getting louder and louder and louder, all of a sudden, when I turned toward the car noise, and it just appeared at the intersection. I mean, it just was there that quick. Janae saw it, and she turned to me, and she said, "Dad, step back, step back." And in a flick of an eye, another car come out of the other side, and it was a collision. It was a loud collision.
Can you describe the sound of that collision?
It was the sound of a grenade exploding that my mind automatically, and that was the first collision, but the second collision, the one that drew my mind, to sound more of the grenade impact. It was two collisions, the one that the car out of nowhere came and hit, and they impacted. His car came careening towards us, and that's when Janae was standing to tell me, get back. And I turned to my right to grab Janae to get her out of the way. And then the only thing I know next is that I felt his car grazed my leg and just snatched her out of my arms, out of my hand, and I was trying to grab her and bent her against the car that was parked there. And then as I turned around, this car was in the air, just going. At that time, I heard Janae screaming, and I looked down at her, and she was yelling, "Dad, I can't feel my legs. I can't feel my legs." When I looked down and saw her, I looked and I saw that her left leg, she was on her stomach, and she was on her left leg was completely severed, and it was up under the car. At that point, I knew she was in trouble. She was bleeding out every time she was screaming, "Dad, I can't feel my leg, can't feel my leg." And I dropped down on my knees. She had a blanket because it was kind of cold that night. And I tried to use the blanket to put a tourniquet around her leg, but it was so thick, and I couldn't get torque on it. And my mind just at that time went straight back to the military. I just went in military mode, knowing that I didn't have minutes, I had seconds, because she was bleeding out so fast. And I couldn't do anything with the blanket. And then I yelled, "I need a belt, I need a belt." And then out of nowhere, this guy just came, and he said, "Here you go, man." And I think I got the belt in court here. I grabbed the belt, put it around her leg, and applied the tourniquet. And then she kept yelling, "I can't feel my legs, I can't feel my legs, Dad, I can't feel my legs." And then I looked again at her right leg, and her foot was completely torn off, and it was just hanging on there by a muscle or some tissue, some skin. And the part of the bone was cocked the other way. And Francine at that time had her head, and I could see we were losing her. And I yelled again, "Francine, I need a belt, I need another belt, I need another belt." And Francine at that time started yelling for another belt. And these guys come out of nowhere with a white belt, and he handed it to me. And I grabbed the belt, I grabbed the belt, and I let my leg go, and I started putting it around her thigh. And I told him, I said, "I need you to get down here, man, get down here now, get down. And he got down, and I had the tourniquet applied, and I looked at him right there, I said, "Don't you effing let this belt go. Pull this effing belt as hard as you can, and as long as you can." And he looked me in the eye and said, "Yes, sir." We stayed on her, and it seemed like forever for the fire department to get there. And they finally got there. And they was really puzzled the first 2 hours because they never seen anything, I guess, like that, because her femur was completely broken, like someone just had twisted it off. And then a few minutes later, I heard another siren come. I heard another siren, and that was the EMS guys. And then they got on the scene, and they had the professional tourniquets, and they pulled mine off, and I grabbed it, and then they put their tourniquets on. And then my wife was wanting to go with them to the hospital. And I think it was Captain or Major Bill. I can't remember. I know he had a white shirt on, and he said that you can't go. And the EMS said you can't go. And then he just tried one of his officers to take us to the hospital, and then he directed the EMS to take her to SLU. And that's pretty much what happened that night.
Okay. All right. There's a lot of to unpack there. You said that the sound of the second impact sounded like a grenade.
Yeah.
Have you mentioned you were in the military?
Yeah, I was in the Army. I did my basic training at Fort Jackson, South Carolina. And part of our training, that was basic training. Part of the training that I went through was grenade training. And they teach you how to pull the pin, how to form, how to throw it. And we were going through live grenade training that day, and pulled the pin. When I launched it, it was the exact same sound as his car hitting that parked car. And that's when my mind, at that point, went to field training of how to address a wound.
Let's talk about your field training, okay? What type, first of all, when did you join the Army?
1978.
So that was shortly after Vietnam?
Yeah, it was during the Vietnam era. I think Nixon pulled everybody out in 75 or 76 out of Cambodia.
Okay.
And we were still in
So your field training, what environment was your field training, did it take place?
Well, at Fort Jackson, it was just basic training. But at the same time, being that we were in jungle warfare at that time, I was sent to Panama to go through jungle training. But the basic training at Fort Jackson taught us how to, when you're in war and you're engaged in combat, how to clear a field of fire, how to set up claymore mines, how to detect NBC. Because at that point in Vietnam, they used different types of methods. They had nuclear biological warfare that we had to train with our gas masks. And then also, they put us in scenarios with mannequins of actual wounds that you will probably see in war.
What kind of wounds are you referring to?
They had abnormal wounds where the soldiers can get hit with a mine or so forth, and it will blow their stomachs out, and their intestines and parts of their internal organs would be exposed, and then we have to, whoever's there at that time, that are rendering first aid, has to be able to patch, push the organs back in for an abdominal wound. We also got training on head wounds. One got shot, jaws, everything get completely torn off, how to address those. We also got training in how to, someone get hit with a weapon, shot, and fracture their legs, how to apply splints. We also got training on if someone stepped on a mine or got hit with a claymore mine or even a grenade and completely lose legs, arms, or limbs, how to apply a tourniquet to the main artery to stop it from bleeding in order to protect them from bleeding out.
Regarding the training you received on treating a wound from an explosion where a piece of the body was blown off, did you also get training in how to improvise if you didn't have a tourniquet, an actual tourniquet?
Yes, they will say, we use different methods, techniques that you can use if you don't have the tourniquet. And this was part of the jungle training that I got, which is actually the environment that you would be actually be fighting in, is in a jungle environment like Vietnam. And Panama and Central America is pretty much close to that. And there were certain pieces like elephant grass that you can use. You can cut with your bamboo, and you can use the elephant grass if you don't have a belt or anything, or something that you can lance and tighten that area off to stop from bleeding. So those are some of the things that I was taught when I went through jungle training.
All right, and it's truly unbelievable that you were able to react as quickly as you did. Can you explain what was going through your mind that just got you back to your training, and you were able to put emotion aside and get to work on your daughter?
It was that impact when that second impact when he pinned her against the car, and that impact was the grenade training that I was had been exposed to. And my mind actually went from father mode to military. And when I looked down and saw her leg was severed, and I knew she only had seconds and not minutes, my mind just kind of blocked everything out. And it was like God had control of my hands at that time. And constructing Francine and the people around that was helping me with her. So that's how my mind just instantly went into that mode. It's when I heard that second impact of this car pinning Janae.
All right. I do want to ask you, so Janae gets taken away by ambulance, correct?
Correct.
And you and your wife were not allowed to go in the ambulance with her, correct?
Correct.
And so you're desperately looking for a way to get to your child. Is that right?
Correct.
And what about your car? You said you could see your car from that corner. Were you able to drive your car out of there?
We could have, but they did not allow it. They poured out the whole scene, and the captain or whoever, the major with the white shirt on, instructed one of his officers to take us to the hospital. They would not let us drive.
Can you describe your wife's demeanor at that time?
She was pretty hysterical. I was trying to hold her as much as I can. We was both traumatized about what just happened. And Francine was in really, really bad shape because her daughter, her baby, has been injured that bad.
Based on what you saw and your experience, how severe did you think her condition was?
I know it was severe. When her leg was completely gone, severed, and I saw every time that she screamed and yelled that she couldn't feel her legs, and every time she did that, I could see her, the blood coming out of her really, really fast, and I knew at that point she was in trouble.
Okay. Now, she was sent to, or taken to St. Louis University Hospital, is that correct?
Correct.
And then were you then driven to the hospital?
Yes, by an officer.
When you arrived, do you know where Janae was or how she was being treated?
Yeah, the officer took us to the trauma center. He escorted us in. They was expecting us there. The chaplain came out first to greet us and took us to the chaplain room because it didn't look good. At that time, they had been working on her. I think, at least 5 or 6 minutes they've been working on her. Had to intubate her. And then I think when the nurses came out and said that she's going into surgery. I think they do a CAT scan and so forth. Once they stabilized her wounds. And my wife was emphatic that she wanted to see her because we thought that might be the last time we would see her. And they agreed for us to come in to see her before they took her back.
How did she appear when you saw her before she went into surgery?
She was a complete mess. They had her covered up so we couldn't see the lower half of her body. They had her covered all up to her shoulders, and she was completely out. And the trauma nurse, doctor, she said that she can't see you because she's sedated, but she can hear you. And my wife and I wanted to just say we loved her because we thought that was going to be the last time we see her. And she said that, Francine was on one side of the bed, and I was on the other side of the bed, and I said, Janae, if you can hear me, we love you, we're here for you. If you can hear me, squeeze my hand. And she did. And that gave us hope.
Okay. Do you know how long her surgery was?
We was there the whole night. I mean, she had so many rounds of surgeries. The amputation went, all of the organs that he messed her up from her waist down. Everything was just completely crushed. And we was there all night, and the doctor that did the amputation came out to talk to us after we finished his part. And then the other doctors and specialists took over there. They started their thing. And he came out and he sat down right beside us, and he said that he had to take both legs, which we already knew. And then he looked at me, and he said you saved her life. You saved their life, and that was pretty tough for me. I didn't know, really, I was numb at that time when he told me that, and Francine just pretty much almost collapsed, basically, but cried in tears, but he said if we hadn't done what we did, this would have been a homicide that we were talking about, and not an injury that we was talking about, so.
Now, Mr. Edmondson, how long before Janae woke up?
I don't I think it's maybe the next day. Because we was completely exhausted the next day. I think she was still out that next day because she still had surgery she was going through. Couldn't really say was it after that Saturday, that Sunday afternoon that she woke up. I'm not sure.
Did there come a time where she started asking you questions?
First, they told us, the trauma doctors and the whole team said that they was going to remove the intubator. And they first said we had to tell her that she has no leg. That was the first thing that we had to do. And we all agreed, along with the chaplain and everyone there, that we wanted to take the tube out and bring her through so I can tell her that she has no legs. And we done that first, and they brought her, whatever they did, they brought her through and woke her up. And I looked at her, because Francine couldn't do it. And I looked at her, I said, Janae, you was hit last night. And she nodded her head, yes. I said, you was hurt really bad. And she said, yes, she nodded her head. And I told her that, I said, your legs had to be taken off. And she looked at me and she said, Dad, I love you. And she said, I love you. And that was really tough. But, and then after that, she went into more surgeries.
Okay. At any point did she ask you why?
Yeah. After they had removed the intubator, we made her aware that her legs were gone. She asked me, she said, why did this happen to her? And I didn't have an answer. I couldn't tell her why. And as a father, that was pretty bad, because I couldn't tell her why her legs was gone and what happened to her. And I didn't have an answer.
Do you know about how long she stayed receiving medical treatment here in St. Louis?
It was, I think, 3 weeks or so. Based on the insurance, they wanted her to do her full recovery here, but at that point we had got cabin fever. We was here so long, away from family, away from friends, from everybody there in Smyrna. So it was about that third week when they finally stabilized her, and we had her life flight back to Vanderbilt Children's Hospital.
All right, and did she finish her hospitalized recovery at Vanderbilt?
Yes, at Vanderbilt Children's Hospital, she finished her remaining surgeries.
Okay, and then after her surgeries were completed, did she have to have additional treatments or rehabilitation?
Had to go through, first they had to clear out they was more concerned with her aorta, because they wanted to make sure that was going to stabilize and eventually heal. And once they was able to get a real good warm and fuzzy that her aorta is going to be okay, then we went and moved her to Stallworth, which is right across the street from Vanderbilt Children's Hospital, which is the rehab center. And we started preparing for rehab.
Okay. All right. Now, Mr. Edmondson, I'm going to show you what's been marked State's Exhibit 1. This is actually a DVD, a video recording from the parking lot view that depicted this crash.
Okay.
You've seen this video?
Yes, I see it.
And does the video fairly and accurately capture the way you recall that scene that night?
Yes, it did. It was instant.
Exhibit 1.
All right, Exhibit 1, be admitted, you may publish. Defense is stipulated to occur.
If you can't see, we can ask if you can step down, if that's better for you. All right. that what happened that night?
Yeah, that's exactly how it occurred, and that was me in the background yelling, I believe, oh no, oh no.
And that's facing north on St. Charles, or from St. Charles?
It's coming from St. Charles. We was walking down the 11th.
All right, now I want to show you Mr. Edmondson's State's Exhibit 11. Do you recognize what's depicted in State's Exhibit 11?
Yes, I see us surrounding the day on the car there. Mr. Riley's car there, and then our car directly across from his car.
All right, you have permission of State's Exhibit 11.
Any objection to 11?
No.
All right, being admitted, you may publish.
All right, Mr. Edmondson, we're looking at State's Exhibit 11, and there are 3 circles there. The first circle on the left, is that Mr. Riley's car?
Correct. Correct. That's our car adjacent to his.
All right, so that's your car, that's your Nissan Rogue that you drove down from Smyrna,
Yes, it was.
okay? And then the next circle that has kind of a red, by the way, do you have any idea who the person in that kind of red shirt is?
No, I don't. I knew I had a red Falcons jacket, and I believe I had pulled that off at the time.
Okay. And so that circle, tell us what that circle is representing. What was there?
That's where we was working on Janae. I was towards the fence side there. She landed on the stomach, and then the other gentleman, which was a doctor's friend, that was on this came on the scene. He was on the right leg, and we were both working on Janae at that time, trying to stop the bleeding.
And then is that the sidewalk where you were crossing, or you were trying to cross the street?
Yes, it was.
So you're just literally feet from your Nissan Road, right?
Correct.
And just a couple minutes from heading back to Smyrna.
Yep, that close.
Mr. Edmondson, I'd like to show you what's been marked as State's Exhibit 5.
Yep, this is the belt that I use from the gentleman that's there, that came up on the scene. As I couldn't use her blanket, I needed a belt, and he just reached down. He just reached down with his belt, this belt here, and that's the one he gave me that I could tuck. And right to this day, I don't know who that is. I want to tell him how much I want to appreciate him giving me this belt, because it saved my daughter's life. And I just don't know, and I'm still trying to find out who he was. And I don't to this day, but this is the belt that saved her life.
And what is it about the notches in that belt that helped you with that tourniquet?
It's amazing that it got a pinhole in every inch of the belt, which made it so easy for me to put as much pressure that I possibly could physically and to lock it into the pin. So it was just a miraculous thing that happened, that he had this type of belt.
Can you demonstrate how you made the tourniquet?
I just basically wrapped around her leg like that,
Okay.
like this, looped it in, and just pulled it as hard as I could.
Is there any way you could step down and just show them what you're doing?
There's no leg there, so I just looped it through. Something I looked up at the time, because the finger was completely broken down. And
you. Mr. Edmondson, I'd like to show you some photographs, okay? I'm going to show you State's Exhibit 23.
Okay. This is Janae's, I think, senior picture that she took.
And then State's Exhibit 19.
This is her high school picture of her in her volleyball uniform.
I'd like to
What are the numbers again?
23 and 19.
23 and 19 will be admitted, you may publish.
Thank you. All right, we're having some technical difficulties, so I'm going to go old school here.
Okay.
State's Exhibit 23.
That's her senior picture.
photograph. State's Exhibit 19.
Her high school volleyball team picture. Okay. Can you tell us a little bit about Janae's recovery? It's been rough. It's been really rough for her. 17-year-old kid that was really exuberant, flying across the course, and now has no legs. And the amount of therapy she's had to go through, pain. She had to deal with initially what they call phantom pain, and that's where the brain thinks the feet are there and they're not. And we had to teach her teach her brain that her feet are not there. And this type of pain is a tingling pain, burning pain that she's experiencing. So we had to go through that first phase of those phantom pains to get over that. Then she had skin grafts that they had to remove from her thighs to cover the stumps of the end of her legs. And those areas were like a major, if you ever had a sunburn, but that's what they felt like, a large sunburn. So she had to go through all of that pain, and plus the internal injuries that she had. They had the rods in her, and they had on some of the most potent pain medication to just relieve the pain, or they gave her own self-pump to pump whenever she was in that excruciating pain. And keep in mind that her legs are still raw, the ends of them. So from the phantom pain, we had to go through the therapy, which is just trying to get from the bed to a wheelchair. To teach yourself to do that. transfer herself from the bed to the wheelchair, and then to get her to take her into the restroom to teach her how to go from the wheelchair to a toilet. And you're going to train her to be able to transfer from the wheelchair to the sliding board and to the shower. And then it was the point of just, she had to pass the physical test in order for us to go home from Stalwart. But it was just the wound care was the biggest part, because we constantly had to replace those bandages and Vaseline, and it was just excruciating pain. And they had so many stitches in her, and then once they had to remove the stitches one by one almost, and that was painful. So she was going to have to go through all this here in the first 2 to 3 months of just removing stitches, wound care, and then before we even got anywhere close to prosthetics. Just seeing her go through that as a kid was rough, and I couldn't do anything for her. But it was a lot of the pain that you see your child going through, that you want to take it yourself, but you can't, and you just got to do what you can for her. So that healing phase was the main thing, the biggest part, other than getting to the prosthetics. So that was the biggest part there, is the pain, the wound care.
Okay. And she's still having, now you mentioned prosthetics?
Yeah, after we got, after Dr. Bastis, which was the prosthesis, or the therapy doctor, once he felt good enough that the end of her stumps could take pressure, and that it would be, because her skin graft was so thin, and they didn't know it was going to take. So in order to get to prosthetics, they had to make sure that her stumps can withstand downward pressure, that it don't rub the skin and it tears. So she had to go through that healing phase, allowing those skin grafts to take. So getting through that was quite a while. And then finally, her body just kind of like took over. She healed enough for us to get to prosthetics. We went to down the road there to Hanger Clinic, which specialized in prosthetics. And there they took measurements of her thighs, because her left thigh was so swollen. They had to first make cups for the initial size of her left thigh, and then of her right thigh. And then they made cups. They made, I can't recall the name of them, but they're like sleeves. They got to cover her stumps before she was able to put her leg into the cup of the prosthetics. So they went through that first phase of measuring her legs, getting the slip-ons, and then getting the cups made. And we got that first set of prosthetics. I think one of them had one of the sleeves had to come from Germany, and they got it, and they got the prosthetics. And that first day was amazing, just to see her stand, in those prosthetics. And it was a miracle that I could see that her standing up on the bars, looking at us crying. And it was a great sight to see her just stand.
Now, is her use of the prosthetics, is that something, is she just using those every day, all day long now, or is that still an ongoing process?
Yeah, that was the initial prosthetics when she took that first step, because they had to be based on Dr. Bastis. Her legs will continue to shrink, and as they shrink, we're going to redo the cups. And then prosthetics. The prosthetics that she got now are microprocessors, and they're really neat legs. They got microprocessors in her ankle, they got a microprocessor in her knee. And as she walks, it adjusts her weight and terrain that she's on. Really expensive legs, but yeah, she's still going to have to get new adjustments and new legs.
Okay. And she's not able to use her legs all the time, correct?
Yeah, she's still haven't accepted her legs, to be honest with you. psychological. She's still in counseling, still seeing a psychiatrist. Her boyfriend quit her. That's in a major another withdrawal. So she don't accept her legs. She think her legs is the reason why. So just trying to, from my perspective, is that she hasn't really accepted that these are her legs. And as I talk to more amputees, and I ask them, when was the moment that you actually started walking? And they all respond with the same answer. When I realized that this is me. And I don't think she's there yet. She's still in the wheelchair. That's her safe haven. That's how she can maneuver. She feels more secure in the wheelchair. So she has the legs and she do walk, but she just really haven't accepted them.
All right. I'm going to show you a few more photographs, okay? I'm going to show you State Exhibit 24, 20, and 25. Will you take a look at those?
Yeah, this is when she was intubated. The second picture is the therapy that she's going through now. And then this is one that she has her legs. Hanger clinic. Hanger clinic.
24, 20, and 25 will be admitted. You may publish.
We're going to get those up here on the screen.
This is where she was intubated when she was actually in trauma center at that time.
Okay.
We had brought her up to ICU from the trauma to ICU. She's in ICU there.
All right. Next, I'd like to show you State Exhibit 24. 25. Nope, I'm sorry, 20. What's that picture of?
That's where she's at right now. She's going through therapy right now, learning how to work on her core. Her core is the main thing. It's going to be the main area that she got to focus on in order to be able to walk, because her lower half she has to control. Her core is the main function. And she also is going through volleyball extra training as well, because she's been offered a tryout with the U.S. Olympic team in May. So we're working on her core and volleyball skills as well.
All right, and now State Exhibit 25.
This is at Hanger with her new legs, and you can see that's what those are right there. She's in a wheelchair.
All right.
That's at the Hanger Clinic, downtown Nashville.
All right. Thank you. And just to be clear, those were admitted State Exhibit 20, 24, and 25.
Correct.
Thank you. So, Mr. Edmondson, I'd like to go. All right, Mr. Edmondson, I'm going to show you some more photographs from the scene of the crash. So, first I'm going to show you State Exhibit 6. Do you recognize that?
Yeah, that's the car in which Janae was pent against.
Okay. And State Exhibit 7, what is that?
That's the rear of the car with my jacket and Janae's putting stuff on the ground there.
State Exhibit 8.
Yeah, that's the rear of the car that she was pent against.
State Exhibit 9.
That's more of a side view of the same car.
Okay. And State Exhibit 10.
That's a complete shot of all of our stuff, Janae's jacket, backpack, my jacket, and so forth, in the rear of the car.
All right, 6, 7, 8, 9 are admitted and they may be published.
Thank you. Mr. Edmondson, we're going to get these up on the screen for you. So starting with State Exhibit 6, okay, you mentioned some items.
Yeah, it seems like that's Janae's water bottle there, and it's a soda can that she had, I believe. Those are the main items that I see.
Okay. And then you mentioned these items here. Do you know what those are?
It looks like the blanket in my red jacket that I had.
Okay. And then the vehicle that you were standing near the back of that vehicle, that Toyota Corolla, is that right?
Janae was right there on that particular corner of the vehicle, and I was maybe a step behind her. Where you see the impact damage? Where you see the impact damage?
So where we see the impact edge here.
Yeah, that's what Janae was right in front of that, and I was a step behind her.
Okay. I'm going to move to State's Exhibit 7. All right. And is this the rear view of that Toyota Corolla?
Yes, it is, along with our belongings on the ground.
Okay. And you can see again the jacket. What are we seeing here?
Look like her backpack, maybe backpack. I think it's a blanket because I think they took the backpack with her, so it looks like her blanket.
Okay. And is that blood there on the car?
Yes, that's from the impact of his car.
Okay. And that appears to be, correct me if I'm wrong, some body tissue.
Yes.
Moving on to State's Exhibit 8. Is this the rear of that vehicle that she was crushed?
Yes, it is.
And just highlighting this driver's side rear compartment of the vehicle. Is that how the damage to that car appeared after the crash?
Yes, it was.
And State's Exhibit 9, you can see here that left side of the vehicle from this angle appears to be almost gone. Would you agree with that?
Yes, it was a really powerful impact.
And that's where your daughter was pinned, between this Toyota Corolla and the defendant's Audi?
Yes, it was.
And you were there for that entire incident?
Yes, I was.
All the way through?
Yep. Until they took her from the scene. I was there.
Those are all the questions I have for you, Mr. Edmondson. Thank you.
Thank you.
Your witness. We have no questions.